For years and years I have dismissed the Darksiders games as generic God of War clones crossed with Devil May Cry and World of Warcraft looking characters. By chance, while watching a friend stream this, I had this feeling that maybe they were actually fun games. Besides, I never played Devil May Cry or God of War, so I was just talking out of my butt. The story has a very B-movie action flick feel to it, and I mean the best way possible. It's not a plot that will make you impressed, but it's not trying to. The world that was built in Darksiders is a lot more interesting than the story itself, and the characters are all well designed. I really dig the art style here. But if I'm being honest, it kind of blends a lot with other fantasy stories I've seen in gaming from Western developers. The same way some of you guys will look at anime games and say they all look the same, stuff like Warcraft, Darksiders, Overwatch and League of Legends all blend a lot together to me when it comes to character art style. Like everyone is trying to emulate the same one. It's definitely proof of the bias that still exists in the Western gaming community, but oh well. It took me a long time to like the gameplay. I didn't mind the running around, climbing walls, grabbing ledges and jumping from platform to platform, and I liked the Zelda style dungeon item collecting from the start. But the combat was a bit of a barrier. I came to this game expecting a combat that could just brainlessly mash the attack button and make enemies drop dead like that. It's not a hard game, but I was getting my ass kicked anytime more than one large enemy was in the field, or a large enemy was accompanied by a small group of small enemies. I had to take a step back and focus more on taking the combat system for what it was. It's slow paced and it's a lot more focused on staying away from attacks and waiting for your window to deal a string of combos, then going back to focusing on evading. Smaller enemies can be dealt with without using your brain, but they still require more spatial awareness than I was expecting. Of course, this is all assuming you're playing apocalyptic or normal and you're not abusing the stun skin ability. You can also activate a short transformation that makes you invincible if you're afraid of being cornered or want to finish an encounter quickly. There aren't a lot of items and 2 of them have no use in battles, but I think they're more than enough to help with the sense of progression. Your weapons level up too, increasing your damage. Learning to like the combat made me change my approach when playing any other game now. So it was a valuable lesson for me as a reviewer and a gamer. Souls you get from enemies are spent on Volgreen Shop, which offers a bunch of upgrades and attack moves. Only problem is, if you're hoping to max everything, it takes a ridiculous amount of souls and not gonna get unless you focus on farming souls for days. For better or for worse, the game is perfectly beatable without spending souls in anything. Compared to games like Bayonetta and Devil May Cry, enemies are a lot more scarce. So you end up spending most of your playtime exploring the world for collectibles and secrets. This is a game you can beat under 10 hours, so it doesn't go crazy with the amount of collectibles. If you're trying to get everything though, you might get very tired of walking around, especially since some of the encounters are a one-time thing. As someone used to far bigger environments, I thought the areas were compact enough that this didn't bother me. Still, you're probably gonna need a guide for a few of the artifacts and chests. Music in this game can be described as harmless, not intrusive, but I didn't personally care for it much. The voice acting is really good. You have some popular names here like Phil Lamar and Mark Hamill in the cast. As predictable as the narrative is, every voice cutscene was entertaining to watch, thanks to the voice work and the cinematography. Well, on occasion the cutscenes can be paced strangely, but this works in favor of keeping them brief. The story set out to tell doesn't feel incomplete in spite of the fast pace of the narrative. The fact they succeed in that deserves some kudos regardless of how you feel about the plot itself. Although it leaves some questions unanswered since it's just one episode in a bigger saga. The environment design is a double-edged sword. I like how it blends post-apocalyptic scenario with dark fantasy. It's unfortunate that limits what they can do with the vistas, so it's gonna be hit or miss with players. It's definitely a very imperfect game. Its platforming controls me a little too stiff at times, a narrative and presentation that isn't gonna click with everyone, and less fighting than what a hack and slash fan would like. But in the end, I found this a fun little game to burn through. It's the exact kind of neat leader experience I expect from less mainstream, edgy, action-adventure games of the Xbox 360 generation. Gameplay is derivative, but the B-movie plot and world building complement it and turn it to more than some generic experience. And few games manage to replicate some of that Zelda style of dungeon exploration, and item usage properly without feeling like a straight ripoff. Something Darksiders is definitely not. Anyway, this one is for the Retro Hangover podcast review crew, and it's time to rate it. Game Over Hell rates Darksiders Warmastered 8 out of 10. This game is often on sale, and if you want an edgy, cheesy flick in video game form you can beat in 2 or 3 days, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Avoid the Steam release if you can. I ran into quite a few bugs that made me reload my save. Get it on PlayStation, Xbox or Nintendo Switch.